One. Welcome into the Big Chief Show. I'm your host, Red Dave, alongside the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only founder of TakingVegas.com, one of the best handicappers in the entire country, the one, the only Mr. Chris Hodge. And Chris, let's call it what it is, my man. Look, we are in a very bittersweet time of year because why? We're getting down to nut cutting time. We got a Super Bowl less than 2 weeks away, Chris. But then after that, man, with all due respect to the UFL, we're in the doldrums again.
No love for college basketball.
No, there is. There is. I can't complain right now. Okay, I really can't. All right.
You've been to the AFC title game 6 times in a row. Now you're at the 4th Super Bowl. You're happy.
Look, I am. I was telling my neighbor this morning, she was like, hey, happy for your Chiefs and all that kind of stuff. And I said, look, I don't want to pretend like I'm some, ungrateful bastard. But it's I know what Patriot fans feel like now. Yes. I legitimately know what it feels like.
Yeah, you guys are them. That's
because let's call it what it is. And then look, you're not a Chiefs fan, but were you ever concerned yesterday that Lamar was going to go out and make a play and outduel Pat Mahomes?
I said it last week. I think we did the show last Monday, and my exact words on this show would you'd have to be an idiot to bet the Ravens over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. That means you have to force Lamar Jackson. And I always hate when I say things like that because I feel like I'm putting down a very talented quarterback. Lamar Jackson is a very talented quarterback. He's just not Patrick Mahomes. It is what it is. Right? He's just not. And listen, I'll say it right here. What are we, 2 minutes into the damn show? I'll say it right here. Purdy ain't beating Mahomes in the Super Bowl. It's not happening. The Chiefs are going to win that Super Bowl. That's why the line opened up at 2.5 last night and is already down to 1 because the whole world knows Pat Mahomes is going to win that Super Bowl. You're a Chiefs fan, so you're going to look at it like, I don't know. They're going to win that Super Bowl.
That's fair. No, that's a great point. It's funny when you watch, and I had a point. That's where I promise you I was. You mentioned you brought up a great point. All right, and you of all people can certainly appreciate this. When we look at the number of players of Hall of Fame caliber NBA guys who didn't get a ring. Why? Because they played in the same era as that guy behind you, okay? And all too well, all right? And kids today don't understand it, but Patrick Ewing at one time was one of the best basketball players in the world.
Go right down the list. Barkley, Ewing, Stockton, Malone, Kemp, Reggie Miller, Hall of Famers. Right down the list.
Hall of Famers, right? Bona fide Hall of Fame guys.
Yep.
Like you said, a couple guys had to go on, had to stick, had to kind of play a little longer than they probably expected to try to go ring chasing, right? We could argue MJ was really the guy who kind of started the whole ring chasing phenomenon, not because he did it, but because guys got sick and tired of getting their ass beat by him. And we're starting a conversation for another time. But what my point in all that is that, we're seeing it. I think to your point about Lamar is we're starting to see that with Pat Mahomes, right? Yep. Josh Allen, like I said, Lamar Jackson, and we're only going to start to see it more and more. Now, Joe Burrow obviously was able to slink by him a couple of years ago. But now you're talking about 4 out of 6 years, and of course he had to go to overtime to beat him.
You can't win every game. Like Brady didn't win every AFC title game. He didn't win every Super Bowl. No. But damn near he was in it every year. And Mahomes is Brady right now. He's Brady. He's Brady. It just is what it is. When Tom Brady played you guys, that AFC title game they won in overtime.
2019. Yeah.
I remember I was watching that game with my wife, and the comment I made is like, this is like watching Jordan. He's going to take the ball, meaning Tom Brady, and he's going to go right down the field and score a touchdown. Like, it's like Jordan dribbling up against Utah. He's going to take the shot. He's going to make it. That's it. If there's no doubt in my mind that Pat Mahomes is going into Buffalo and winning, there was no doubt in my mind that Pat Mahomes was going into Baltimore and winning, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to Las Vegas and he's winning another Super Bowl. There's literally no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, no, look, I'm with you. The thing about that San Francisco team, I will say, and like I said, you and I'll talk more about this as we get closer to it, because obviously today's we're kind of just reflecting on what happened yesterday. But I will say this, though. I think it's time to at least put a little bit of respect on Brock Purdy's name. Not saying that we haven't, but he looked impressive in that second half yesterday, right? I mean, he did what needed to be done from a quarterbacking perspective. You didn't lose, or you weren't, at no time did you think to yourself in that second half, Brock Purdy's going to lose this thing for the San Francisco 49ers.
He got his team to a Super Bowl. Last year, he got his team to an NFC title game before the unfortunate injury. But let's call a spade, right? You know how we are. We just spit facts, right?
Yeah.
You know, I thought they got very lucky. Detroit went for it on 4th and 2, up 24-10. I think that's a terrible decision by Dan Campbell. And it didn't work. We didn't get it. Well, if it worked, no. 100 times out of 100, you kick the field goal when you're kicking the hell out of a team to go up 3 scores, right, on the road. After that play, Purdy throws a terrible ball. And it just happens to go off the Lions player face mask, and Ayuk catches the ball. It's like a miraculous catch. Now, after that, he played a great game. But, if he throws an interception there, that's 2 interceptions in the game, because that was a really bad throw. That throw was really bad. It worked out, but it was a really bad throw. Besides that, after the second half, he played well.
You know what? You're not wrong. And look, that's one of those deals where it's your day. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's when all right, maybe it's just sometimes this is not your day. Sometimes the other guys are just better than you. But that's one of those situations where, come on, man, the ball bounces. It should have been picked, number one, right? Like, homeboy had it right there, boom, bounces off his head. Ayuk makes a hell of a play to catch it. And of course, obviously the rest is history from that point on. And then you can make another argument too. Look, and I'll give Dan Campbell credit. He's going down with the ship. He made it clear he wouldn't have changed a thing. And I don't know if you heard him say this, and I thought this was very, very, and I think it was Maurice Jones-Drew even said it. When he told those guys in the locker room, some of you may never make it back to this point again.
Man, honest.
That's a pretty sobering thing to say to a group of guys who just blew a 17-point lead that would have taken them to the Super Bowl.
See, this is why I love doing the show with you, though. I agree and disagree. So I agree I'll give them credit for getting them, the Lions, who never won anything in their life. Seriously. Right?
At least in our lifetime.
Right. The Lions are the Lions, and they became the Lions yesterday again, right? But
absolutely,
he got them to a championship game. For that, he deserves all of the credit in the world. But I thought he coached one of the worst all-time big games yesterday. I really do believe that.
Did you say that in the second half? Because I thought he was great in the first.
He was great in the first. They're up 24-7, and San Francisco really wasn't playing well. But to not kick the field goal to go up 17, I will argue that with anyone. Right?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you that. I don't disagree with you on that one.
So now you're down 3, and you have a chance to tie the game with a field goal, kind of stabilize things, and now you kind of put the pressure back on Purdy to go make plays, and maybe things change a little. And you don't kick the field goal there either. And I'll tell you what, I think the decision to actually go for the touchdown when you could have kicked the field goal earlier, because you need 2 scores anyway, right? And now that worked out. They scored a touchdown, but they didn't really leave them. They put themselves in a position where they needed the onside kick, where if you kick the field goal a little earlier and you still have 3 timeouts.
Oh, you can kick the ball away.
Go play defense.
Well, not to mention, and then they're going to run the ball 3 times. Right. And then it's like, all right, you're going to get the ball back with maybe 20, 30 seconds left. Think
about it. If they would have kicked the field goal, I don't know the exact time, but if they would have kicked the field goal from, like, say, the 20-yard line, I think there was 1 minute and 40 left.
I was going to say there was a minute and change left. There actually was, yes.
Just kick the field goal, right? Now you're down 7. Okay, you needed 2 scores anyway. The thing that hurts you there is time. That's what is against you. So I thought he coached a terrible game yesterday, but he did a tremendous job getting the Lions to the conference title game.
He did. And it was one of those deals where, to your point, when push came to shove, and the moments where, again, nobody cares, or it's more of just a talking inflection point when that happens during the regular season, right? We're, media, TV shows pick up on it. It's good fodder for us. We can run with it. We can talk shit or whatever. But you got the next week to you live to fight another down, right? Whereas in this situation, and look, you could argue I mean, let's call it what it is. And you pointed this out last week. Spagnuolo, if anybody gets credit for coach of the weekend, it's got to be Steve Spags.
He's great.
Okay,
the best defensive coordinator in the league.
Man, let me tell you something. And look, I can't say enough. And my boy Teddy J texted me after the show or after the game last night. And he's like, "Man, has Spags always been this dominant?" I said, "No." I said, "Now you could, I said now the 07, Giants and Patriots might have something to say about that." I said, look, he's always been a good to great D coordinator. I don't know that he's always had these kind, but look, no D coordinator is going to have that kind of personnel year in, year out. But what
he's a great defensive coordinator. I mean, it doesn't always work out year to year, but big game, that's the guy. First of all, they haven't given up more than 27 points all year long. So
okay, let me ask you this then. Would you argue that that Steve has Steve Spagnuolo, look, let's call it what it is. This is a guy who, again, has won 3 Super Bowls. Okay. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He's won 4. Okay.
4, right.
2 with the Chiefs, 2 with the Giants. Okay. He's been a part of, I don't know. They call it Giants. But you could call him a team that busted a dynasty. And then
when they won with the Giants, the game when they beat Brady, the undefeated Brady.
Yes,
that Patriots team was averaging God knows what and put up 38 against them a couple weeks prior to that Super Bowl, and he completely shut them down. And there is not a Giants fan alive right now that wouldn't want Steve Spagnuolo as their defensive coordinator. Not one.
No.
He went to the Rams, didn't have great success there as a head coach.
It was a disaster. Yeah. But again, he's and look, and you and I talked about this, and how we covered the whole gamut here. But no, Spags, for what that guy has done, and for a Chiefs defense that has traditionally been over the last, pretty much in the Mahomes era, a bend don't break, but let's make some plays when we need to. And of course, as you know, Spags is going to throw some crazy blitz out there at some point, right? I mean, and we saw that. And the thing he did yesterday that was different that most teams, look, spying Lamar Jackson's not, that's not some Vince Lombardi, Bill Belichick level move. Putting a spy on a guy like that.
He forced Lamar Jackson to beat him with his arm. That's what he forced.
Well, but here's what he did too, though. My boy Henry Thomas pointed this out. Not only did he spy him, but instead of having the spy just kind of, stand behind the line of scrimmage and wait for Lamar to do something, he blitzed the spy. Mm-hmm. Right? So Spags is like, fuck it. We got somebody covering you anyway. Might as well put some pressure on you. And it made a huge difference. Because Lamar, and look, I like Lamar Jackson. And again, we get it. 5 years ago, old ass Bill Polian made the, moronic remark. Oh, he should be a wide receiver. Okay, all right, whatever.
Right.
Come on, be real, bro. Be real. Is he a top 5 quarterback? Absolutely. But at some point, he's going to have to beat somebody with his arm. And I'm not.
So let me do this, right? Let's say this. Josh Allen hasn't won either. Who's bounced Josh Allen out of the playoffs 3 times? Pat Mahomes.
Right?
So
Joe Burrow.
You have Lamar Jackson is a very good quarterback. Josh Allen is a very, very good quarterback. They're very good quarterbacks, right? I don't buy into the white, black. I hate that. I hate that.
Oh,
they're a good quarterback. I don't care what color they are. They're a good quarterback. Great. Okay. They're losing to Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is better. Peyton Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He has 2. Why? Because he went up against Tom Brady. Ben Roethlisberger, a great quarterback. He's got 1. Why? Because he had to go beat Tom Brady. So every now and again, someone might, like a Joe Burrow, might slip by Pat Mahomes over the next 10 years. It's going to happen. But Pat Mahomes is still going to be there. And until Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, until one of these guys consistently gets by him, it is what it is.
Well, and when you bring that up, I mean, and here's the scary part when you mention that, Chris, is that you mentioned CJ Stroud, rookie, right? So he's coming now. You got Joe Burrow, who was injury riddled all this year. You mentioned you mentioned Justin Herbert, who now has for the first time in his career a legitimate head coach, right? So the AFC
loaded.
Man, I'm telling you what, top to bottom. I mean, you talk about 7 or 8 quarterbacks that it's just loaded. Whereas if you're Detroit and you're the NFC, look, you're feeling all right. I mean, look, it's a good group over there. But look, Jordan Love. I mean, Brock Purdy's the quarterback, for God's sake.
Pat Mahomes. See, this is the problem with the AFC. You just spent 20 years getting tortured by Tom Brady. Yeah. And now you're going to spend another 15 to 20 years getting tortured by Pat Mahomes. You don't need to have the crystal ball, the 8 ball that you shake that comes up. You don't need any. The simplest can see it, man. Pat Mahomes, unless he gets hurt, which no one can predict, and you never want to see it happen.
No.
Pat Mahomes is going to be a pain in the ass in the AFC. How old is he? 27, 28?
28.
He's going to be a pain in the ass for the next 10 years. It is what it is.
That's it. That's it. And really, I mean, think about it. Brady played what, 20 seasons?
Yeah. 20 seasons in New England, and it was a pain in the ass. And it was when someone got by him, when a Denver got by him with Manning, and when a Colts got by him with Manning, and when the Steelers got by him, and when Flacco got by him, that was the aberration, right? That was the aberration. But you still had to go beat Tom Brady. And Pat Mahomes isn't going to win the next 10 AFC titles, right? He's not going to do that. No. But you're going to have to knock him out. You're going to have to beat them in the playoffs. They're that good.
Well, you figure he's already been to 6 AFC championships. You figure he's going to go to at least 5 more, right?
Out of the next 10 years? I would actually wager today he goes to more. AFC title games? I'm not talking Super Bowls. AFC title games where you just got to be the final 2. I mean,
the only reason I'm a little the only reason, and again, like you said, I'm a Chiefs fan, so obviously I'm looking at it from a torn, twisted point of view, or conflicted point of view. But just for the simple fact that, we talked about, just because it's only going. I mean, look, your division's going to get harder, right? Like, your division just got harder for the first time in 8 years, right? Because now you've got Sean Payton, who's going to actually get his legit quarterback. You got Jim Harbaugh, who has already said this is it for him, right? So the only thing he's got left, he said there's no Lombardi trophy in college. So he's going all in. Antonio Pierce, we'll find out. I mean, that we'll find out and see how that plays out. But again, now you've got 2, you've got 3 legit teams to worry about. You already mentioned CJ Stroud. We got to believe Trevor Lawrence is going to be worth a shit at some point, right?
That's Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Like Cleveland is Cleveland. Like the Jets are the Jets. Like Detroit is Detroit. They always find a way to screw things up. The way I look at it is this: Josh Allen is a Hall of Fame trajectory quarterback. Yeah. So is Lamar Jackson. So is Joe Burrow. Like if their careers continue to progress, they're Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Great accomplishment. They're not as good as Pat Mahomes. It's as simple as that. Like Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing and all of those guys, like John Stockton, the Hall of Fame players, Charles Barkley, and they were not as good as Michael Jordan. And there's no shame in that. There is no shame in that. Sometimes people are just better. Pat Mahomes is just better. And look, Pat Mahomes has probably the best tight end of all time on his team, if not the best, the second best. But besides that, he doesn't have a receiver worth a darn, anything. And
Rashee Rice, although I think he's been beat up the last couple of weeks.
Oh, fair. But if you look at what this guy did in the playoffs, I think he hasn't thrown an interception. The last time he threw an interception was against Vegas, which was on Christmas. Yeah. So that's the last time he threw an interception. If you look at the 3 playoff games, you had people freezing to death in Kansas City, literally. Okay, that's how cold it was there. I'm not trying to make light of someone dying, but you got literally freezing to death.
By the way, real quick. Real quick.
Oh, we're going to get in trouble with this.
How are you going to bring your boys over? Okay. How many times? Okay. You and I are the same age. All right. We're both grown men here. How are you going to bring your boys over to the game to watch and then you forget they're there? Oh, by the way, they're frozen dead in your backyard?
Sounds like some good drugs to me, bro.
Dude. Yeah. No, that's it.
Sounds like some good drugs.
That's exactly what it said. That's
literally, I mean, he played in weather that people died outside.
Literally, people died outside. Now, they may have been under the influence of something, but then, that goes without saying.
Then he goes to Buffalo, and it was cold there. Okay, wind wasn't really a factor, but it was hard throwing conditions there, and that wasn't pretty yesterday either in Baltimore. This guy's thrown for, I think, he's completed 70% of his passes. He's thrown for 5 touchdowns. I think he's only been sacked twice, which is a great job by the offensive line. And he's thrown for over 750 yards, right around there, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as solid as, and I didn't even add in however many yards he rushed for. Managed the game, and then when needed to make a big play, like the play yesterday on 3rd down, when he goes down the middle. Like, you need a big play, he'll take the shot down the middle and put it right on someone. He is a bona fide, the best quarterback of our generation. And I can't see a guy like Brock Purdy take nothing away from him. Another guy's a good quarterback. He ain't gonna go beat him in the Super Bowl.
Just for shits and giggles, real quick, because you got me thinking about this. I listed off the 9 quarterbacks on the AFC that came to my head just off the top of the dome. Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, and Tua. All right, that's 9 guys right there. Okay, and that doesn't include, and you figure the Bears are probably going to trade that. I would imagine the Bears are going to trade Justin Fields, so maybe he'll work his way in the AFC. Not that suddenly thrusts him into anything, but
maybe Aaron Rodgers, if healthy. Maybe
I was going to say, we're not even, and we left Aaron Rodgers off. And the only reason I left him off is because, like I said, who knows what we're going to see out of him. And oh, by the way, I mean, that offensive line, unless they do something with that offensive line, I mean, I'm not convinced that's going to be a huge difference. But let's just say, for the sake of this argument, that we throw A-Rod in there. I mean, that's 10 quarterbacks in the AFC right now that you've got to contend with.
Yeah. Well, they got to contend with him.
Yeah, exactly.
They got to contend with him. They got to go beat him.
You got a lot of quarterbacks. No, you're exactly. And like I said, it's one of those deals where when you're in the mix, I mean, and it's kind of, there was a guy on Twitter yesterday. What are we going to do when Mahomes retires? Who gives a fuck? Like, just enjoy it.
Years from now. What are you talking about?
I mean, seriously, no one's got time for that. Spags coached his ass off yesterday. I got to get my boy Chris Jones, who I was very critical of the week before against Buffalo. I thought he played his ass off yesterday. It was a big penalty that I thought could have got called in the end zone, by the way.
That was a penalty. And all the Baltimore fans forget about that, too. That's what drives me crazy. Like, they all forget about the safety that would have happened if they call that.
Look, you had that, and I would argue you had those 2 back-to-back holding calls right before the end of the first half.
The holding on the touchdown was a bullshit call.
It was terrible.
It had nothing to do with the play.
Had zero to do with the play. So look, and I think, and again, I know you talked about before the show, and it's been talked about a lot as far as did Isaiah Likely get bumped right before that ball came to him? It's one of those deals.
I would have called, and I was on. We were on Kansas City yesterday. We were on Kansas City big, so no bias here towards not calling something on Baltimore. Like that was, to me, that was pass interference in the end zone. Now I don't know if they ruled it was underthrown so bad that it was uncatchable.
That's what I wonder, if it was because it was underthrown.
It looked like pass interference to me. The non-call helped me. Okay, I was happy to see it. An interception. I was happy to see a non-call. I would have called that, and I would have called we talked about it off camera, when Lamar threw the ball out of the
when Isaiah Likely got grabbed by Mike Edwards. Now look, I would argue that to me was more of a pass interference penalty than the one with Isaiah Likely in the end zone. Really? Just the simple fact that you had 3 guys around him, the ball was underthrown. I mean, he wasn't catching that ball, right? Like that was not a catchable ball.
I agree.
And if I'm being honest, look, as many times as we got screwed on pass interference penalty calls this year, as the Kansas City Chiefs, you know what? Like I can live with, a very kind of a touch and go call, but look, I mean, it's one of them things where, and I listened to Mad Dog last night and I didn't get a chance to call in, but when they call and say, oh, well, the Baltimore lost it as much as Kansas City won it. No, they didn't.
Yes. That's BS.
No, they didn't,
Yes.
Players got to make plays.
You scored 10 points. Scored 10 points at the end of the day at home. At home, you want to say, okay, Zay Flowers, tough break there. At the end of the day, the Chiefs had that happen last week, the exact same situation.
Yeah.
Exact same situation with Hardman. They still won the game.
Well, the difference though is that I mean, I'm not as tripped out by that as much as I was people getting upset about the whole taunting call. Don't spin the ball in front of the ref on the guy.
He pushed the guy down and he spun the ball. That's the definition of taunting. I literally thought every call on Baltimore was legitimate. I thought they missed a couple on Kansas City. You and I will disagree on the pass interference. I think they could have called that in the end zone. Yeah. We both agree that there was holding on that other play. But to your point, man, Baltimore has been the beneficiary of calls throughout the year. Kansas City has had some calls go against them. I think most notably it was Denver, where they had a bad call go against them. I think it was Denver.
There was the Green Bay game that they had a bad call go against them, and then the Philadelphia game they had a bad call go against them.
So, I mean, listen, you never want to see it on the highest level, but you know what? Call or no call, Kansas City was winning that game yesterday.
Well, I was going to say, I was just going to ask the next question is right, wrong, or different and I think we can both agree on this. Officiating was not the end-all be-all of last night's game.
No, we're not talking about it like when the Saints played the Rams.
Exactly.
We're not talking about it like we were, although you and I mentioned this last year at the end of the Super Bowl. That was holding on Philadelphia. That was holding. He held them.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the officiating. What we're talking about is analytics rearing its ugly head again in the Detroit game because they don't take the field goal. We're taking that, or 2 field goals. And we're talking about, an MVP, and he is the MVP, but once again, coming up short in the playoffs. To me, no fault, though, because he lost to the better quarterback.
He did. And like you said, we can start looking at the whole MJ deal where, is it just that he's just that much better than everybody else? And I think there's definitely something to be said for that.
He is.
There absolutely is. And Travis Kelce turned the clock back. I mean, again, for a guy that looked as battered and bruised as he did throughout the course of the regular season, he looks like the Travis Kelce that we've all known to come and love over the last few weeks and did so again yesterday. I mean, 11 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown or whatever it was yesterday. He was lights out.
Great game.
Yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better game from him. And then finally, again, two missed fourth down conversions. And of course, the one on the 28-yard line that you referenced. I mean, that was one that if Josh Reynolds can just catch a ball. Now, maybe that's a conversation we might be having. And I'm sure Detroit fans are having it, even though it didn't really get to the level of that yet last night. I think people were still kind of people still hurt over everything. But if Josh Reynolds makes that catch, Chris, it's a different conversation, and maybe it's a different winner today.
Okay, so I did a TikTok video today, and I referenced the not kicking the field goals, and I had a reply. I said, well, we had drop balls, this, that, and the other. We lose as a team, whatever, and which is true, right? But if you take the statement based on that validity, that is true. But here's why I disagreed with that comment. The head coach makes the decision.
Yeah.
Now, if the head coach puts the field goal team on the field, which is what he's supposed to do, on the road, up 24-10 with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, to go up 27-10, I will say this. That game, in my opinion, is over. Because if you think about it, San Francisco had 10 points in 40 minutes of gameplay. Detroit was kicking the hell out of them all over the field. Yeah. They couldn't stop Detroit. They couldn't move on Detroit. They were kicking the hell out of them. Go up 27-10. Okay, now you've played 10 minutes of the second half. Stalemate. It was 24-7. You're up 17 at halftime. Yeah. Now you've wasted 10 minutes of game time. You're still up 17. Okay, and now you've put all the pressure in the world on San Francisco. Instead, what happens? You go for it. You drop the ball. A fluke play goes against you. The next offensive play you run is a fumble, and now all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And you've seen in sports what momentum does, man, and that just – you allowed all hell to break loose because you did not kick that field goal. That's how I feel.
It's a great point, man. I mean, and no, I mean, I don't. Look, the Chiefs went for it on fourth down yesterday on a 4th and 1.
I didn't like that call either. I didn't like that call. Go up 10 on the road. I didn't like that call.
I liked the call. I didn't like the play call.
running right up to the left side.
Yeah, I really thought that was a play where, because Baltimore was kind of banking on you to run it, like I felt like, all right, let's see if we can't roll Pat Mahomes out. And I mean, come on, you got 3 dudes running to one side. Like, you can't tell me Pat Mahomes can't pick up a yard. Because again, you go up on that, and my thing was this: you're up 14-7. You go up 21-7 with the way that offense had looked to that point. Well, that was pretty much cancel Christmas at that point if they go up 21-7, because there was
the same way though if you go up 17-7 though. I literally feel the same way. What do we know in the playoffs, right? Not so much the regular season, but in the playoffs, especially on the road, which both Detroit and Kansas City were yesterday, points are a premium, man.
No, they are. You got that right.
So, I mean, that field goal for Kansas City, that's a chip shot. Butker's going to make that. Detroit, you don't know that field. We don't know that field goal is going to be good.
No, their kicker's a little.
Yeah, we don't know that's going to be good, but I still would have attempted the field goal to go up 27-10, and I certainly would have. I don't even know what he's thinking when they're down 3. Like, I don't even know how you don't kick the field goal there. Like, to me, that's no excuse.
No, and like you said, I get it. I mean, that's the mentality, and I know that's the conversation today. That's the mentality that got you there. That's if they're not that way, are they playing in the NFC Championship? Yes, and we can speculate.
I gotta say this, right? That argument comes up all the time, right?
Oh, that's all I've heard today.
Season, right? Well, you know what? Yeah, the referee blew a call. Okay, but you lost the game in Dallas because you went for 2 when you could have kicked the extra point, and you basically had them on the ropes, right? You could have went to overtime. So don't tell me, right, like, oh, we played like this and it worked out. Well, you lost games because of this. And there was the guy from the Chargers a couple of years ago. This guy single-handedly cost the LA Chargers a very good record because he went for 2 constantly and never got it. So a lot of these coaches make these decisions when the simple is right in front of you. All right, well, like, KISS. Keep it simple, sweetie, or keep it simple, sugar, or however you want to say it, right? Just keep things simple in the playoffs, man. And I don't believe Campbell did that yesterday. I really don't.
I think
you're an underdog. You're kicking the hell out of sin. Can anyone at the 7-minute mark of the third quarter yesterday, can anyone say they weren't by far the better football team? Is that a fair argument?
Oh, I mean, look, Detroit looked like Detroit looked like the team that had the history of being there year in, year out.
Yeah,
and
they
San
look
Francisco looked like the team that was being in its first NFC Championship in a gazillion years. So no, I'm with you on that. I mean, they came out as guns a-blazing, and as Dan Campbell points out, they had all that in that first half. But and look, when you have a bully, when you have somebody super aggressive, sometimes I guess all it takes is them to outthink themselves. But at the same time, too, let's call it what it is. Like you said, Pat Mahomes is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson, right? Guess what? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams are better wide receivers than Josh Reynolds. All right? Jameson Williams and Josh and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and hell, probably Sam Laporta all make that catch, right? There's probably a reason Josh Reynolds was open. There's probably a reason why he was able to get open the way he was and drop not 1, but 2 big passes in last night's game. So I'm with you on that. Again, it's one of those deals where, again, you got to believe that if you're Detroit, you just wonder, Chris, if you get back in this position next year, do they kick or do they go for it?
It depends on how big of an idiot he is. Really? I mean, that's I
would you be mad as a Lions fan right now?
Extremely. Someone asked me the question in my office today if you think that the Lions season was a good season this year, or are you mad? And I'd be mad. They let a major opportunity go by.
They did.
Simply because they couldn't count. Simply, you go up 27-10. Let's assume the guy makes the kick. Let's just assume that. He's the NFL kicker. Let's assume he makes the kick. You're up 27-10 with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, none of the BS that happens. Remember, the whole world changes now. Now you kick off. Now now you got a lot of pressure on San Francisco. And basically, how many possessions does San Francisco have left? 4 in the game. I
was gonna say 3 or 4 max.
3 or 4. So they got to score on every one of them.
They got to score every single one.
Bad math. The math didn't math, bro. That's what they say. Oh, the math didn't math,
And if you don't, and think about it this way, if Jameer and obviously, it's a little bit different conversation too at that point, right, Chris? Because then, let's say they did score, okay, it's 27-17. All right, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't fumble on the next possession, right? Or maybe it's a different play call, or maybe San Francisco took longer to get to the end zone. I mean, again, it's a butterfly effect, right? So just so many different things. It's again, I guess if nothing else, San Francisco, but again, Chris, I mean, to your point, right? Think about it. Better team won with the better quarterback on Sunday in Chiefs Ravens, and the more disciplined, better coach team won in San Francisco and Detroit.
I mean, Detroit's supposed to win that game 9 times out of 10.
They absolutely should.
The one, man. They would, and for Campbell, I hate when coaches go up. I do it again. Well, really? Really? You do it again? Like
what he said.
27-10, in my opinion, and people could comment and call me crazy and say I'm an idiot, and that's fine, man. It won't be the first, not going to be the last, right? But at 27-10,
yeah,
that game is over. Detroit is going to the Super Bowl at 27-10.
I love it.
And they allowed a sleeping giant to wake up.
Yeah, they did.
And then what happened? The snowball.
Quicksand. They absolutely did.
Quicksand happened.
Like you said, the momentum changed everything.
Changed everything, man.
All right, we're gonna do. Obviously, we got a lot to. I mean, look, everything's gonna get dissected to ad nauseum over the next 2 weeks. But we'll go ahead and put a bow on this thing for today. As we get ready for the next 2 weeks, and today it'll be kind of a slow week. I think this week people are still gonna be kind of the whole Lamar conversation, what have you. Detroit, and they're still probably wondering what the hell went wrong. What is You already mentioned as far as Mahomes is a better quarterback than Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you're looking for, or anything surprising, or just under the radar for Chris Hodge from a Super Bowl perspective that he's keeping an eye on this week?
Well, I think we got the right matchup. I really do. I know Kansas City was the 3 seed. But I really believe we got the right matchup. I always thought they were better than Baltimore, and I thought they were the better quarterback. They had the better quarterback, which they do. San Francisco was the 1 seed. I would have been more surprised if Detroit went, although I thought Detroit played a very good game. So we get a rematch of a very entertaining Super Bowl from a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to see, really, last year, Kansas City played San Francisco.
Beat the brakes off them, too.
Destroyed them. Now, Garoppolo was the starting quarterback in that game. No CMC. I believe it might. I don't know if that was CMC.
It was his first game as a 49er.
Right. So, how much of an – let's see what Purdy and CMC are, right? Because they beat them, I think, by 24 or 21. So
I think it was 44-21, I think was like –
Yeah, they destroyed them in that game. So I'm interested to see where it goes from there. And I'm also interested to see now, here's what I really want to see, right? Because this will be interesting. We can't have it today, but 2 Mondays from now, we could start having this conversation, okay? And I'll be happy to have it. Pat Mahomes wins this Super Bowl.
Okay.
The GOAT conversation is a real conversation. It's a real conversation. Okay, because if he's won 3 titles in is this his 6th full season?
This is his 6th full year as a starter.
Now, Brady's got 7, and we know that. Okay, but that conversation, you win 3 in your first 6, and if he wins another Super Bowl MVP, now he's got 3. Okay, he's got 3 titles, got 3 Super Bowl MVPs. That becomes a very, and this is going to piss off the people in New England. And I still got Brady 1. But I got Brady here right now, and I got Mahomes here. Now it's like it's getting closer.
Yeah.
I think it would
now, be those same New England people will argue with you that head to head,
he beat him twice.
Brady beat him twice.
Brady did beat him twice. And to me, again, let me clarify. Right now, even if Mahomes wins it, Brady is still the best of all time. Okay. Yeah. But
Agreed.
that gap is getting closer. Now, if you do, okay, let's do the next 6 years, right?
Yeah.
Now, if Mahomes wins 3 Super Bowl titles in the next 6 years, and he has 6 total, Brady's got 7. This is a very, very real argument.
I think look, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl on not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, because the thing we forget with and you touched on it earlier in the show, we had a 10-year gap between Super Bowls for Brady.
We
right?
did.
Like there was a 10-year gap where he didn't win anything. And like you said, that's where guys were that's where all the guys who were able to get a few Super Bowls, not named Eli, that's where who was it? That's where Ben Roethlisberger won his 2 Super Bowls. That's where Aaron Rodgers got his Super Bowl. That's where the name I can see it off the top of my head.
Does Roethlisberger have 2? Or does Roethlisberger have he's got 2, right?
Roethlisberger's got 2.
He's got 2.
Roethlisberger's
Flacco won 1.
Flacco got 1. Exactly.
Manning got 2.
Yes.
Eli got 2.
Eli.
Rodgers got 1.
Yeah.
So if you think about think of the quarterbacks we just named.
Yeah.
Those are all first ballot Hall of Famers. I know
Except
people
for
with Eli. Those are all first ballot Hall of Famers. So that's what Brady was going up against.
Well, you're not saying Flacco's a first ballot Hall of Famer, are you?
Okay. You got me on that one. I don't think he's a first ballot, but I think he makes a compelling argument.
To what? For the Hall of Fame?
Compelling. It's not. You got me on that one. Eli, I think is first ballot, 100%. Right? There's only a handful of people walking around with 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He's one of them, and he beat the greatest quarterback of all time.
He did. I mean, I think that alone is probably going to get him in.
And he's top 10 in most statistical categories. Okay, his team success was, I think, 1 game over 500 or 500. But, I mean, he played in a very tough stadium as Mahomes does, as that weather gets colder. But, Rodgers, Manning, Roethlisberger, Eli, that's 7 Super Bowls right there that Brady didn't win to first ballot Hall of Famers. Yeah. And then you want to throw Flacco in. And, remember, Brady was around when Mahomes won his first, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, because remember, his first AFC Championship game as a starter, if D Ford doesn't line up off sides, the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl that year.
They win that game.
They win
that game. So
that change
but that was a penalty. That was a penalty. He was offsides. So was Tony this year. Tony was offsides. I mean, you want to call it a weak call? We could argue the merits of the call. Right. Well,
the Tony thing, I don't look. The D Ford thing was totally like that was legit. Like you're just sitting there, and that was more of like at the time. And see, but to think about it, that was one of those situations where, and maybe Baltimore is going to get through it because the thing we kind of forget too, Chris, is that there's as the kids say, there's levels to this, right? Well, there's levels to getting to the championship. I mean, more often than not, you've got to get you got to pay those dues. You got to get beat up a little bit before you finally break through. Very rarely do we see the team that just suddenly was dog shit last year and then makes a run to a Super Bowl or a championship the next year because they figure some things out. Right? Like that the NFL is just not built that way. Like it's just not going to happen that way. So
and it makes what Kansas City has done. It makes it phenomenal because just to get to that game 6 years in a row.
6 years in a row.
Look, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. The amount of luck that you have to have in terms of injuries, in terms of other stuff going your way, has to go your way.
Let me tell you something. You just hit the nail on the head right there because I think that's something, and I think about it a lot. And I don't, and not to be this doesn't get talked about enough guy, but I'm going to be this doesn't get talked about enough guy. You mentioning the Chiefs' injury history, like forget luck. It's borderline miraculous. Think about Chris. Over 6 years, Mahomes has missed, I think, 2 games because of a freakish kneecap injury that he had a few years back against Denver.
That was on a quarterback sneak, right?
That was on a quarterback sneak.
That was a hold your breath type of moment,
Hadn't run a quarterback sneak since. Travis Kelce.
Is that true? They haven't run a quarterback sneak since that injury.
They have not run a quarterback sneak with Pat Mahomes. Why do you think the Chiefs are so? Why do you think the Chiefs struggle so much in short yardage sometimes on 3rd and 4th and 1?
Because to tell you the truth, that I'm in the handicapping business, and I did not know they had not run a quarterback sneak since that injury.
One of the reasons why I think the Chiefs struggle so much on 3rd and 4th down is because defenses already know you're taking the quarterback sneak out of the situation, and that's a huge play, right? That's a big fucking play. So now you're telling me, so if Blake Bell lines up at quarterback, guess what? I know some sort of freakish, gimmick plays coming. Like, I already know that. And so that's one thing where I've been sitting and, this year I was thinking to myself, watching Mahomes on a few short yardage situations get underneath the center, and I noticed that the D-line's never bunched up. So I'm thinking to myself, like, well, maybe this is the time where he finally says, the hell with it. I'm going to go ahead and just do it anyway, right?
And he still hasn't done it.
Still hasn't done it, bro. Still hasn't done it. So, again, it's one of those things that we haven't seen since where, he did that. But I'm trying to think where I was going with all this. I promise I had a point to it. But no. Oh, to the injury side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Travis Kelce misses a game this year. This is the first time he missed a game since his rookie season. Okay. Line has been banged up. But, I mean, for the most part, this team – its starters and its superstars have been healthy year after year after year. And, Chris, I don't know that gets near enough credit or near enough attention.
There's luck to it, and there's also preparation to it. These guys are training hard. Maybe they're protecting their bodies a little bit more. I don't watch every Kansas City Chiefs game like you do. I only watch the ones that when I know I'm going to be using them and games like that. But at the end of the day, there is an element of luck. There's obviously the element of skill. But here's the thing about the Chiefs. We said it on your show last week, right? Why would they get blown out of Baltimore? Like, why? They have a great defense. They have a great defensive coordinator. Got a great head coach. They got the second best quarterback of all time, best quarterback of a generation. Why is that team going to get blown out? And I ask the same question about the Super Bowl. There's a team that is there now. This is their 4th time there, okay? They know how to deal with all this stuff, right? San Francisco is the 2nd time there, but their quarterback is the 1st time there. Okay. Yeah. They know how to deal with all this stuff. They've been in every situation. They've been down in this game. They've been up in this game. They've been in every situation. Okay. Mm-hmm. They got the better defense. They got the better quarterback. They got the better head coach. And you made this man, who's what now? 10-1-1 against the spread as an underdog?
I believe so.
You made him an underdog for the 3rd straight time.
You like it. You like him being the underdog. Now, so my question for you is, as we still got 13 days before this thing kicks off, do you see this line moving? It's got to, right? I mean, how it moved a 1.5 in less than 12 hours.
I think my first, and I've been reading lines since 2004. Okay. My first inclination last night when I first saw the line was, thank you, God, that they're stupid.
Yeah.
Right. Because I already had bet the game. I got it at 2.5 and I bought it up to 3. So I already have a rather sizable bet. I know people post that I don't need to do any of that shit. First of all, I don't want the feds on me or the friggin' IRS. I want to keep what I do private and just leave it like that. Right. But then as I woke up this morning and I'm like, okay, that's starting to make more sense now. And I don't know if it's going to go to Kansas City favorite, but I will be surprised if that game isn't a pick 'em, which is basically right now Kansas City +1. But you just made the best quarterback of a generation, and again, the 2nd best quarterback of all time. You just made him an underdog 3 straight times. So you didn't learn from Buffalo, and you didn't learn from Baltimore.
No.
And so Josh Allen could have beat him at home. Lamar Jackson could have beat him at home. Brock Purdy's going to beat him on a neutral site.
Seriously. In a field at a stadium that they play at every single year. They know that stadium.
They know Las Vegas. They're familiar with it.
They know it left. They know that stadium. They know there's nothing about that venue that they're not ready for.
And I know Kansas City was down even in the 4th quarter against Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
But in their 3 playoff games, I never watched. And by the way, you know this. We used
actually no. I don't think they were down in the 4th quarter.
I think they scored late, early in the 4th quarter. We got to look up the box score. But okay. I think they were down going into the 4th quarter, and they scored quickly. I don't know if you could check that while we're doing this.
Checking it right now.
But never We used them against Miami. We used them against Baltimore. We used them against Buffalo. Never in one of those 3 games did I think Kansas City was going to lose. Not once. And what was the score there? Going into the fourth quarter against Buffalo. What were they?
Let's see. I'm getting ready to tell you right now. Hold on 1 second. Scoring summary. No, you're exactly right. They scored. It was 24-20 going into the fourth quarter,
and they scored early in the fourth quarter.
And that's what it was. Chiefs had the ball.
Yes,
the Chiefs had the ball and were driving, and then Pacheco scored. 14-20 left to go.
I don't know if the people out there who watch this program, I don't know if they'll feel the same way. But the last 3 weeks that I watched the Kansas City Chiefs play, I never thought they were going to lose. The last 2 weeks that I watched the San Francisco 49ers play, I thought they were going to lose.
They might lose.
I thought they were going to lose to Green Bay. I thought they were going to lose to Detroit. And they should have lost to Green Bay, and they should have lost to Detroit. Remember, Green Bay missed a field goal. So Green Bay misses a field goal. Detroit doesn't kick the field goal. I mean, you're talking about Green Bay and Detroit. Before we go, I'm not trying to annoy any fan base. I'm not trying to piss you guys off, right? The Packers and the Lions are not as good as the Chiefs.
No.
Jared Goff and Jordan
Two
Love.
teams that wildly overachieved. Well, I'm not going to say that Detroit overachieved. I mean, I think they did a lot with people. But Green Bay is the youngest team in the NFL.
By the way, go dead to rights.
And you were replacing a legend, right? And Jordan Love went out and did his thing. So.
A lot to be excited about. But those are the teams that had San Francisco pretty much on life support.
Yeah.
Kansas City was never on life support in any of these 3 games. Never, never. You never watched the Kansas City Chiefs game the last 3 weeks and said, I don't know if they're going to win this game.
I haven't felt this. I mean, honestly, I haven't felt this uneasy about the Chiefs since Christmas Day when we got beat by the Raiders.
I mean, they didn't. You look at this was going around my office. Right, because we have discussions now. Let's. I know we're running late. Let's talk about it from a handicapping perspective, because I have 15 guys here that break down games every single day, right? And one of the arguments that went around my office that I absolutely hated was people thinking the Chiefs were done because they lost to Denver or they lost 6 regular season games. They literally said they were done. And the way I looked at it, because I have the final say, the way I looked at it was, this team knows they just need to get into the playoffs. They're not going to show up at Denver. Who gives a shit? Okay, they don't care. They know they don't have to go 17-0. They know they have to win the division, which they did.
Yeah.
And then someone has to outplay Pat Mahomes. That team knew that. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not on Kansas City radio in terms of I do my show there, but I'm not in, that.
You're not there day to day.
But from an outsider looking in, it looked like Kansas City knew what they had.
Yeah.
And they knew they just had to get there. And guess what? They got there and no one knocked them off.
I will say this. They definitely looked more they definitely looked like the more established team in Baltimore. Buffalo, they went back and forth. Buffalo was a heavyweight fight, right? Where, you felt like, all right, if these guys fuck around, Josh Allen can do something here, right? Whereas with Baltimore, I was a little nervous at first because, look, they hadn't done it, what was it, 50 years since the last time they'd had anything remotely like this. You had people from every Baltimore celebrity was in the stadium. You had Bisciotti, the owner, talking to Lamar. But your boy Ray was doing his dance again. I mean, it was everything, right?
And it's still Pat Mahomes. And it's still Pat Mahomes. You still got
and what was I almost feel like, and tell me if you think I'm crazy about this. I almost feel like Todd Monken decided I'm going to show that my guy can go tit for tat with Pat Mahomes. It just felt that way because how is it Gus Edwards only had 3 carries?
I mean, well, if you take the Lamar Jackson runs out of the game, they had 8 carries to running backs, which is asinine.
You're the number 1 running off. You were the number 1 running offense in the NFL. And you only ran the ball 8 times?
God, I hate saying this again because so many people take it out of context and they take it the wrong way, okay? Lamar Jackson beat you with his feet first, and he made a great play in the pocket where he avoided a sack, hit the guy down the right sideline, which was a big play for them early in the game.
Yeah.
And he beat you with his arm second. Okay. You want to tell me he had 3,600 passing yards and all this? Okay. But now let's go break down those 3,600 passing yards. And how many times did he run around, keep plays alive, and force defenses to cover? He is not a great reader of defenses in the pocket. He is not. Pat Mahomes is. Okay. Yeah. Now, they took this quarterback who's got a special talent. Lamar Jackson has a special talent, but they tried to make him beat the Chiefs by sitting in the pocket. And I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the game plan. I'm not in the film room. From an outsider again, I don't agree with that. It reared its ugly head again yesterday. And that's why Pat Mahomes is moving on and the Ravens are going home.
I love it. Real quick, tell the folks at home. I mean, look, we got no football this week.
We got basketball, though.
We got plenty of basketball.
Off camera. I can't give these two games away for free, but I'll tell you off camera what they are. All right, guys, look. On Wednesday, there are two college basketball games that we already have circled. Fred, I'll tell you what they are as soon as this goes off, so you know, because I do that all the time, every time I'm on radio. But I'm telling you right now, guys, there are two big college basketball games on Wednesday. I think both will be blowouts. I think both will be easy. If you want to text the word win to the number 545454, we'll show you how to get them. You can visit takingvegas.com. But there are certain games that come across. And look, I'll complete transparency, because, Fred, you know I'm like that. The last time I did the show, I gave out Kansas minus the points. I thought they would destroy Cincinnati. And Kansas has been struggling. You, my man, had told me Kansas not playing great defense. Bad call by me. But I also had Kansas City against Miami, Kansas City against Buffalo, Kansas City against Baltimore, got Kansas City in the Super Bowl, which they're going to win. So I've won a little bit more than I've lost. Big games on Wednesday. We actually love these two college basketball games.
So go to takingvegas.com, go to text win to 545454, and I'll tweet everybody out at that. And then, of course, you can also follow you can also tweet at Taking Vegas at Taking Vegas as well. So give my man a shout here. Again, like I said, college basketball is obviously, now we're kind of directing our focus, undivided for the most part over these next 2 weeks. And then obviously the Super Bowl happened. And then obviously after that, it's going to be full bore NBA and college basketball in the meantime. So stay tuned. Wednesday, takingvegas.com. Go call my boy. He'll get you taken care of. He'll get you set up right. And then also two Sports Investors Daily. They can find that where?
Saturday and Sunday. That's on all over the country. Big show planned for this Saturday. We're going to be giving out Super Bowl props every segment before the commercial. So excited about that. Sunday as well. We do a bigger show on Saturday than we do on Sunday at this point of the season, because now, this is the first Sunday where there's no football since the beginning of September. So we'll kind of cut down the Sunday show, but Saturday in full bloom with college hoops. And we'll be talking about some prop bets. Nothing to go crazy on, because, but I will say this, okay? This is 75-1 right now, and I think this has a legit shot at happening.
Uh-oh.
Give you a final score. I believe, and if I actually hit this, you guys think I'm the devil for sure, okay? But I actually believe that the final score of the Super Bowl will be Kansas City 31 and San Francisco 21. That's 75-1 right now. That's what I actually believe the final score of the game will be. I think that you can take a shot with that, put 50 on it, make 37-50. Have some fun with it.
Because the Chiefs won, 31-20 against the 49ers.
31-21 seems like, now you get the nonsense with the going for two and, but I think 31-21 only puts one field goal in the game, and teams are more prone to go for it now on fourth down. So I like the Chiefs by 10. Hey, it might be 34-24. I'm just thinking 31-21.
See, I can definitely see the Chiefs kicking two field goals. I could see a 27-17.
I like that.
Type score.
If you go right down the list, what the scores could be: 27-17, 30-20, 31-21, 34-24. Hey, look, look at the points that San Francisco just gave up at home to Jared Goff and Jordan Love.
No, they're gonna look. They're
gonna give up points.
I think I think the one thing, Chris, that everybody is noticing now, that if they haven't figured it out by now, then I don't know what to tell you. This is not the same San Francisco defense from a year ago. And oh, by the way, can we start calling? When are we going to start calling Chase Young a bust? Like, can we do that? Is that official yet?
I hate calling unless they're a Jamal.
Look, you're a nice guy, Chris.
I try.
You're a nice guy. I get it. You don't want to talk shit. I'll be that. Look, I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy.
Because you're in the media.
That's it. Yeah. No. Trust me. I'll be that guy. I don't give a fuck. But I'm the same. I'm in the same boat as you though, in that I don't want to routinely. I don't like to go out of my way and routinely disparage professional athletes, right? Because for one, as we know, they're doing things that we can't do. That being said, Chase Young was what, a number 1, number 2 overall pick, however many years ago it was?
2. Yeah,
okay.
He was number 2.
And in 2 consecutive weeks, I've watched him get stood up by a wide receiver. Okay.
Oh, the toss play, right? The toss was one of those, right? Yeah.
Okay. He got stood up yesterday, and then he got stood up again last week. I think it was Christian Watson who stood him up last week, and I can't remember who the wide receiver was. I think it was Josh Reynolds maybe that stood him up yesterday. Josh Reynolds couldn't catch a cold yesterday, but for whatever reason he was able to block Chase Young. Not that that's that's some huge accomplishment, but this is not the same defense that we've seen in years past. And look, I'll just say this much. After having to hear about how great and listening to every talking head yesterday, I think devastating, ferocious, and all-time were the 3 things I heard used to describe that Baltimore defense yesterday. And look, they didn't
play bad yesterday.
They did well. No. To your point, they looked great in the second half. Now, part of that was
that's Kansas City. That's another argument we could have, right? I think because I've heard that go around today.
Yeah.
Right? I think Kansas City got into a situation where they knew that Baltimore couldn't score on them.
That's it.
And they were just taking the air out of the football.
That's all they did. That's
what Detroit should have done. That's what Detroit should have done.
That's exactly what Detroit should have done. Think about it. You made Pat Mahomes a game manager in the second half.
And he managed.
He managed. He managed. That's it. You know,
there's something to be said about that, right? It's when it's there to take it.
Yes.
So Pat Mahomes took what was there. Lamar Jackson, again, I thought it was pass interference. And again, I was on the Chiefs yesterday, so the call went my way. But Lamar Jackson threw the ball into triple coverage. Now, if we watched the all 22 of that, or we watched the end zone shot of that, I guarantee you he had a check down that was open somewhere.
Oh, he had to. There was 3 guys on the dude.
He had to check down somewhere.
Somebody open.
He forced the ball over the middle. Okay, the call doesn't go Baltimore's way. It ends up in an interception. But it is what it is. I mean, Pat Mahomes made plays, and when they were there, he took them, and when they weren't, he threw the ball away. Still went 30 for 39 yesterday, right? It was 30 for 39.
I believe so. Yeah. No, he had. Yeah. Last thing, and we'll talk more about that. And we'll probably talk more NFL, or we'll talk more Super Bowl next week. But I want to get your thoughts on this. How surprised are you that the arguably greatest head coach in NFL history not only is he going to get shut out of this coaching cycle?
Oh boy. I'm going to get in trouble. You're going to have haters on this one for me, boy.
I want to know this. Who's taking a chance on a 73-year-old coach next season?
I don't want to get into the age aspect of it, right?
But you got to.
If you can coach, you can coach.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Okay, here we go. This is going to get me in trouble. Okay? I do not believe Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time.
In NFL?
I don't. In fact, oh boy. I don't even think he's a good head coach.
You're tripping.
I'll tell you. Can I explain?
You're tripping.
Can I explain?
Oh, you better explain. You can't throw that shit out there and not say anything.
Yeah, let me explain. Oh, boy. And I know I'm in the minority with this, and I know people are going to hate me. Fine. Let's talk facts, which is what you and I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill Belichick has coached 11 seasons and 79 football games without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback.
Okay.
Okay, that's not a small sample size.
No, that's a full. I mean, that's 11 seasons. That's a whole coaching resume.
That's 11 seasons he coached with Cleveland. I added the year that Brady got his injury, where he was out all year, where he went 10-6.
Okay.
I added the 4 games that he was out from Deflategate, fine. And obviously, when you add every game that Bill Belichick is coached without Tom Brady, he has an 82-99 record. That is his record without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback. 17 games under 500. In those 11 seasons, he has 1 playoff win. Those are facts. Look at your face right now. You're like, oh, damn, is Chris right about this? You want to look it up right now.
Trust me, I am.
You go look it up.
I'm looking at him as you're talking.
His record without Tom Brady is 82-99. Tom Brady as a starting quarterback, his record is 82-99. 11 seasons without Tom Brady as your starting quarterback. He has 1 playoff win, which took place in Cleveland.
Yeah.
1. You're talking about the guy who's got 30 or 31 playoff wins. He's got 1 without Tom Brady. Furthermore, because I know we blew way past how long we wanted to do this show. Look at Josh McDaniels, Romeo Crennel, Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia. I wish I could show you what I'm saying. There's no notes in front of me, and you did not tell me you were going to ask me this question.
No, I didn't.
Okay. And then you could add Bill Belichick. None of them, not one of them, had success anywhere without Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady's a good dude. He always sticks up for his guys.
Yeah.
But facts are facts. So you can look up the record, and everyone listening to the show can look up the record.
You know what? Here's what I would say. Here's what I'm going to say to that. And I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying, because I know a lot of people are and no one has brought the numbers out quite like you have. So I got to give you props for that. The one thing I'm going to say is this when it comes to Bill Belichick. And his expertise as a head coach. One, I've had a chance to work with guys that played for him, and they all say the same thing, that, dollars to donuts, the things he does football wise is next level. Like his
Why
ability.
doesn't he win without Brady?
What's that?
Why doesn't he win without Brady?
I'll tell you why. I think it's the same reason why in the NFL, but much like the old saying, Father Time's undefeated.
Fair.
You don't win. The NFL is the one sport where if you don't have a quarterback, that one position, you won't win.
Mike Tomlin won this year. He went 10-7.
Okay, here's what I would say about that. Okay, here's what I would say about that.
With Mason Rudolph. He had Buffalo. He was within 7 at Buffalo on the road in the playoffs.
No, and look, but here's the thing. But let's take Mike Tomlin for example.
He's never had a losing season, by the way.
That's great. You know how many of those 17 seasons? You know how many years he's won in the playoffs?
1.
But that's what I'm saying. 4 seasons. He's actually won the playoffs.
Okay, great. I love to argue. I love this. I'm
right there with you.
When I said 1, I thought I Super Bowl. I thought that's where you're going.
Yeah.
But who did he have to deal with? He had to deal with a Peyton Manning. He had to deal with Tom Brady.
That comes with the territory. Like you can't argue and tell me, look, how great of a coach Mike Tomlin is, but at the same time say, well, but the coach he keeps getting his ass kicked by is the same coach. Because look, did you ever watch a Pittsburgh game and say to yourself, wow, Tomlin really schooled Belichick?
I can't say in terms of schooling Belichick. I won't make, but I have very rarely watched a Steelers game and said the Steelers were unprepared or the Steelers were out-coached.
Oh, no, but except when they played, look, death, taxes, and Mike Tomlin getting put into a clown suit in the postseason by the Patriots. You could count on that.
Fair. Listen, right? I'm not here to argue it. All I'm here to say is
I guess my thing
if Andy Reid was an 82-99 coach over 11 seasons with Kansas City, and you're a fan, would you want him to remain your head coach? 82-99. There is no coach that gets 82-99 with. And by the way, if Andy Reid won 1 playoff game in those 11 years, look, Bill Belichick can talk me under a table with football. Okay?
Yes.
Talk me under a table. Talk most of the world under the table.
Yeah.
I'm just saying facts. He's 17 games under 500 without Tom Brady as his quarterback. He has 1 playoff win in 11 seasons. No one could argue that.
No, you can, and look, I will not dispute that. I guess my only look, the argument I'm going to make is if we're going to take the top 10 coaches and let's just make all that, take away. Tell you what, if you're Bill Walsh, what was his record without Joe Montana? I would want to know what is Vince Lombardi's record without Bart Starr.
These are all fair questions.
Don Shula, because I think your point is your point.
We're not talking about now. We're saying the best of all time, right? We're saying the greatest.
That's my point. Is that I firmly believe that Bill Belichick, and I said this on Mad Dog Radio, I believe that Bill Belichick, the one thing he's proven, and the NFL is continues to show this. All right, you could argue the NBA is kind of like this too in a way, but if you don't have especially now, if you don't have a legit quarterback, you're not going to be successful.
I cannot argue that. All right. I'm not going to argue. That's a fair point. I will just simply say.
And I think that's what his problem's been.
11 seasons, 1 playoff win. Now, that quarterback left you. That quarterback went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And Bruce Arians won a Super Bowl. Okay.
By the way, but again, and this is something for all the Tom Brady people saying, "Oh, Tom Brady could have done this without him." Okay, Bruce Arians. Just so we're clear, and I'm not saying this about you.
No, I love it. I love it.
I'm just saying this in general. Okay, if you look at Andrew Luck,
he had some guys, he had some dogs,
and there was one other guy. I can't think his name. Losing me off the top of my head that he had as a quarterback. All had their best seasons.
Jameis
Winston, right? Bruce Arians is a offense. Like, I know the term guru gets thrown around a little bit too much, especially now because some guy has a great season. Like, oh, he's an offensive guru, right? Bruce Arians is a legit offensive guru, right? Like, Bruce Arians is that guy. Offensive.
And here's my argument to this, right? So Brady went to an organization that really never won. Okay, they won a Super Bowl back in the early 2000s, but they were not known as a legit Super Bowl contender at any point for the last 15 or 16 years before Brady arrived. And Brady goes there, they win a Super Bowl. Then it took a really big performance by the Rams to knock them out of the playoffs the following year. So Brady gets into the playoffs and wins the Super Bowl. And you're talking, I'm not talking about, Bill Belichick going 9-8, 8-9, 10-7. Like, so he's won 4 and 5 games the last 2 years. I think it was 5. I mean, he has been terrible the last 2 years. And by the way, the year before Brady gets there, they're 5-11. They're 5-11.
But the thing I'll say but again, I think we can, and I think you and I are starting to argue in circles here because this is what I will say. That Tampa Bay team was loaded.
Agreed.
Like, again, you understand it, but too many people have made the argument, well, he came to this Tampa Bay team, it was no good. It's like, no, that Tampa Bay team was good, except for the fact that you had Jameis Winston throwing 75 fucking interceptions a year, right? You plug in Tom Brady and suddenly, but again, that goes to my point that look, a quarterback change it. Look, if you take Pat Mahomes off this Chiefs team and left it as is, we're the Jets. I
don't know if you're the Jets.
No, I'm gonna tell you what I know. I'm gonna tell you what. You know why I say that, Chris? Because look. You know as well as I do, that was a damn good defensive team, or that was a damn good defense the Jets had this year. You know what the problem was? When those motherfuckers were on the field for 85 minutes out of the game, you're exhausted. And oh, by the way, when you got to watch, Robert Saleh sit here with his dyed beard every week and just stare off into fucking space, okay? You got poor Zach Wilson who's over here throwing into, God knows what, So I look. I get it's easy right now. And maybe Belichick is a little in over his head. I really do. And I think to your point, I think the problem with Belichick was, I think by the end, I think he got consumed by the Belichick-Brady conversation. I think he went so far over his skis. When you name Joe Judge and Matt Patricia two guys who are not offensive people, and you take your rookie quarterback and say, here, I'm going to have these two slapdicks lead my offense?
That's part of it, though.
That's
part of it.
coaching.
You know why? Bill O'Brien and Josh McDaniels, who haven't won anywhere outside of New England, okay? Because you know what? If they make a call that's stupid or, whatever happens, the best quarterback of all time gets them out of that call, makes it ridiculous. And they look a lot better than they are. Because why can't Josh McDaniels now been fired twice? Okay? And
then left the job after taking it.
Yes.
With the Colts job.
Here's my point. You know what? I went early in about 15 minutes ago. I said he's a bad coach. I'm not going to say he's a bad coach. Right? He's won a lot. But I take the 11 seasons without Brady, and you're 17 games under 500, and you have one playoff win. If you took that and you deducted all of the Brady years, we would not be looking at Bill Belichick as anything other than an average head coach, if that. Brady elevated it, and then it was a perfect scenario. Perfect marriage.
But I guess the one thing I'll say is this, is that I don't know that Tom Brady is the same guy without Bill Belichick, and we're never going to know this. And I'll say this, and I'll say this. And I know this and again, I'll be first to say two things. One, I'm biased because I was in New England. I was living in Maine when New England won its first Super Bowl. Okay. And of course, you being on the Northeast, that's all one that Maine is Patriots country, right? So I was in New England when the Patriots won their first Super Bowl. So obviously New England will have a special place in my heart. Number two, having worked with guys in the media who played for Bill Belichick, and look, Ted Johnson, you ain't going to see him and Bill Belichick exchanging Christmas cards anytime soon. My boy Henry Thomas played for him for a year after spending 14 years in the NFL. And they both said to a man that his inside, outside knowledge of football, the rules, and his schemes and what have you, that it was him and Tom Brady were just the perfect mix.
That's fair.
At the right time.
And that's fair. They struck lightning in a bottle. Great.
Because I'd ask you, Chris, do you think, look, we could take it a step further. Are we certain that our boy Pat Mahomes would be the same Pat Mahomes without Andy Reid?
No. And
think if he went to Chicago.
Andy Reid won with Donovan McNabb. No, he didn't win the Super Bowl, but he got there and he lost to Tom Brady. Andy Reid's won everywhere he's been, no matter who's been his quarterback, whether it was Alex Smith, whether it was Donovan McNabb, whether it was you cannot say the same about Bill Belichick. You cannot. It's not. You can't. It's not even a valid argument, right? Because he's had 82 plus 99, right? That's a lot of games.
I would argue, though. My only thing I would say, though, in defense of that, though, is that I would argue Bill Belichick hasn't had a quarterback as good as Donovan McNabb or as Alex Smith after Tom Brady.
Well, whose fault is that? He's the one who drafted Mac Jones. So your evaluation was that. They fell into shit with Brady. They didn't want Brady. In the sixth round. That was just a guess.
And you know what? I will agree with you on this. From a GM perspective, he's been a disaster. And what do we always hear, Chris? Make the main thing the main thing. Where in football, how many guys, I can think of I can think of three guys off the top of my head who did the GM head coach thing. Our boy in Seattle, who used to be at
Holmgren,
right? Gets booted out. That was a disaster.
Hard to do. It's hard to do those two jobs.
It's extremely hard to. I just don't understand why. Look, I get the whole. What's the old Bill Parcells quote? If you're gonna make me, go to the grocery store, at least let me shop for the groceries or whatever the hell it's called. And I understand
you say that about my wife. Furniture shopping. Why bring me? You're not gonna let me pick out the furniture. I'm just
right.
Pay for it. Really? Oh, great.
Holmgren, Belichick, and then the third one I can think of is Bill O'Brien, which ultimately got him fired. Right? Because like you said, you just can't do the NFL. There's too much at stake to have, and there's too much going on to think that you're going to run the personnel department and run the operations of your football team.
Let's throw all that out. You are right. You're right. Simple. Let's keep it simple. 82 and 99, one playoff win over 11 seasons. That the guy you want as your head coach? Take the name off of it. 82 and 99, 11 seasons, one playoff win. Is that the guy you want as your head coach?
Well, if you're taking it off, but if you're
just go record. Just go record. Does that guy still have a job in the NFL? Just go record. 82 and 99. One player.
I'd have to look. I mean, I'd have to look at it.
McCarthy. McCarthy wins 12 games every season. What did they say to him? We don't win the playoffs. And he's got a playoff win. I think he might have 2 with Dallas. I know he had 1 last year.
He got 1.
They're killing him. They're killing him. He wins 12 games every year.
Look, Belichick's at a stage in his career, I think, where it's if you just tell me Belichick's my coach and I'm going to GM and I'm going to control personnel and all you're going to do is coach and I'm going to have a decent quarterback, I'm right. You could look, you're not going to tell me. I'm a Belichick guy to the end. I'm a Belichick guy. I just feel like I don't know that what he's done outside of being a moron when it came to what happened 2 years ago with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. Like to me, that, and I wouldn't want to be my personnel man, and I wouldn't want him. I just wouldn't want him to be my personnel guy. But how about I throw an olive branch? I'll give you that. We can say that Brady might not be Brady without Bill Belichick. Right.
Okay? But I could say with facts that Belichick certainly would have been what he was without Brady because he hasn't been. He's been without him 11 seasons, and he's 17 games under 500.
Okay. Here's the deal, though. Okay, so when did he left? When in 20?
Look at the Cleveland years. Look at the last, I believe, 4 or 5 seasons. Okay, of New England. Look at the Cleveland years.
Yeah, no. So he was.
Look at the first New England years
and 44 in Cleveland.
What was his record?
He was 36 and 44 in Cleveland.
Okay, so that's 1 playoff game he won. So he's 8 games under 500. Now, the first year in New England, he had Bledsoe. He did not have Brady. What was the record that year? 5 and 11.
5 and 11.
Okay, so now that's 30. That's 41 and 55.
Yeah.
Okay. Now give him 10 and 6. The year that Brady blows out his Achilles, blows out his knee.
Yeah.
Well, give him 10 and 6. Okay. Now give him the last 4 or 5 years without Tom Brady. Just look at the. I think the last year Tom Brady they went 12 and 4. Look at the year after that.
Okay, and then they went 7 and 9, 10 and 7, 8. Or excuse me, hold on.
And they lost Buffalo in the 10 and 7 year in the playoffs. They lost that game.
Okay, so yeah. Show only selected.
Add them up.
Let's see. I'm trying to do it right now. Where's it at? Okay, here we go. Let's see. 17, 21, 29. So he's been 29 and let's see. 29, let's see. 16, 25, 38. So he's 29 and 38. Okay. So
add up the Cleveland years, add up the 5 and 11, add up 10 and 6, add up 3 and 1. He went 3 and 1 without Brady and Deflategate, and add up those numbers you just gave me. What does that add up to?
All right, hold on. Let's see.
Well, you're doing a freehand, huh? We got a cell phone for this shit.
I know, right? Let's see. 51. Let's see. That's 7. That's 80. Yeah, you're right. 80 and 99.
80 and 99.
80 and 99. Yeah.
1 playoff win. So
what's 39? 39 and 41 is what? That's 80, right? Yeah. So he's 80 and 99.
He's 80 and 99 without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback. I don't know how anyone can argue that. Now, I will give you the olive branch, and we did this show for a lot longer than we thought we were going to do it. But I will say this: fair point. Brady, and I'm sure Brady would admit that too. I think he already has. He wouldn't be what he was without Bill Belichick. That's great. My only kickback to that is why hasn't any quarterback performed well other than Tom Brady with Bill Belichick? Because Mac Jones, they're ready to put at the stake. They're ready to torture him in the Boston Harbor. That's what they're trying to do to him. Okay? Bledsoe didn't have great success with New England. Lost his job. Okay? So no quarterback became what Brady became with Belichick.
But but you know what, though? That's like saying, but the only thing I would argue is that's like saying, hey, nobody became Michael Jordan under Phil Jackson.
Again, olive branch, man. I thought I'll say that.
I mean,
I'll just say about 80 and 99.
The thing is that I guess, I'll put a bow on it with this. I'll put a bow because look, you're dead right, and you've given me a lot to think about. Now I'm probably going to geek out here sometime this week, start looking at coaches' records without their star quarterback because now I'm genuinely intrigued. But I'll say this: it's again, I think it's very finite where you'll have a coach because look, don't we think Mike Shanahan is a pretty daggum good coach?
He is.
Right?
No one's saying this. We're talking about the GOAT.
But my point is, but I'm making a
GOAT conversation.
I just feel like when you have a guy that's as legendary as Tom Brady, like when you get a superstar, I think it's hard, and I think that's why the Green Bay situation is so interesting because you've been able to take two legends back to back, and we don't know where our boy Love's going to be. But Green Bay has been the outlier in this because, I think you and I talked about this one show. Look how many. I mean, what was the old adage that once your great quarterback went to die or retired, it was good luck trying to find the next one. I mean,
okay, so let's do your guy. Add, you don't have to do it now because I know we're running late, but add up Andy Reid's record without Pat Mahomes. It ain't 80 and 99. I'll tell you that right now.
No, it's not. But again, I would argue Tom Brady. Look,
add up Tomlin without Roethlisberger. They have winning records. Again, winning the Super Bowl is hard. I get that. I'm not talking, but they have. Okay,
so let me ask you this.
Add up Harbaugh. Harbaugh's had 7 different quarterbacks.
Okay, let me ask you this. So what? Okay, but whose record who would you rather be, Tomlin or Belichick?
Of course, you'd rather be Belichick. Of course, okay. But I'll tell you this: if I gave Tom Brady to Mike Tomlin and Roethlisberger to the Patriots, I think Tomlin wins 6. I do.
No way.
Maybe I'm wrong. No way, huh? I like it.
No way.
No way. Okay.
No way.
Because that's what makes great stuff.
Because he couldn't even win more than 2 with Rod. Okay, all I'm saying is this. Now you got me fired up. Look,
what did he lose to?
Okay, think about this. You had a 3-year stretch in Pittsburgh where you had Ben still in his prime. You had Le'Veon Bell in his prime. You had Antonio Brown in his prime. How many Super Bowls they make it to?
0.
There. So that's my point. Is I'm just saying, like, and look, I get it. I think Mike Tomlin's a good to great NFL coach, but it's like one of those deals where, like, playoff time, you got 1 game to win. You ain't going with Bill Belichick?
I'm going with Bill Belichick. How could you go with Bill Belichick when he's won 1 playoff game in 11 years without Tom Brady?
All things being equal.
All things being equal?
All things being equal.
You know who I go with? You know who I go? All things are equal.
All things being equal.
On the table, Andy Reid. Because that fucking guy has won with Donovan McNabb. He got him to a Super Bowl. He won with Alex Smith. Okay, they didn't get to a Super Bowl with him, but he won. Okay, won more than he lost. And now you got the equivalent, sort of, kind of, to Brady. And look what he's doing. He's in 4 Super Bowls.
I would just, but and this is where, and you and I are never going to disagree on this, and I think that's fantastic. Belichick's never had a quarterback as good as Donovan McNabb or as good as Alex Smith, not named Tom Brady.
That's fine.
That's the only thing I'd say on that. He never had. So we never got to see him with a mid-level because it was either, and the thing we forget too is that first year you had a lot of, that first year he went 5-11. They were coming off the Pete Carroll years, right? And that was when they were starting to kind of figure out, okay, what are we doing here with and the only thing I'll say is this, and Henry Thomas has told this story time and time again. So the year so people forget they signed the Patriots signed like Bledsoe like $100 million deal the year before they won their Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
So my boy Henry, who had just wrapped up his season with the Patriots, Belichick calls him, not the GM. Belichick calls him, not his representation.
Yep.
calls him straight. Henry was due a roster bonus in an hour, right? Belichick calls him. Hey, look, we got to let you go. All right? We can't give you your roster bonus. And Henry's like, what the fuck? Da, 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 da. So he's all pissed off. And they're like, look, we want to re-sign you, but we can't do it right now. We got some things going on. We'll get back to you. Calls him later that day and says, look, instead of what you were going to play for, we want to sign you for what your bonus was going to be. And Henry said, no. You keep the bonus. Pay me what you were going to pay me my contract. They're like, no, we can't do it. And so their final pitch to Henry was, or Belichick's final pitch was, and Henry said, hand to God, we are a Super Bowl caliber team right now. We're a Super Bowl championship team with you on it. Think about it. And now, mind you, this was before anything happened in the 2001 season, which nobody thought the Patriots were going to be a Super Bowl.
But what's he supposed to say? We suck. We're losers. We have no shot. He gave him a sales pitch.
I mean, look, but to tell him, but come on, you're telling a 14-year veteran who's been around. Oh, by the way, I think we're a Super Bowl caliber team.
Can I ask a hypothetical? Because I know this is your show, but can I ask this hypothetical?
Yeah, go for it.
If Mayo wins this year, if he wins with New England this upcoming season, if they go 10-7, he wins a playoff game, then what? Is there anything? Does your view change at all? Let's say he goes 10-7, wins a playoff game. I'll give him that record. I'll give him a playoff win.
I don't know that it'll change. Will it make me think that this year's been the last few years? Look, these last few years.
Not the last few years. 11. Not the last few. 11 seasons. 11. 3 years, I'd give you. If it was 3 years, I'd give it to you. 11.
I'm still.
Mayo wins this year. Draw my whatever. If he wins this year, then what?
Well, then I think. Look, then I will buy into what you're saying. Here's what I'll say. All right, I want you to do this for me. So I've got Ted Johnson coming on the show Wednesday. All right, Teddy played 10 years in New England, and I'm going to run by some of the things that we've discussed in this conversation. And trust me, I've got the numbers right here, okay? The numbers are right here. The numbers don't lie, okay? So I'm 12 o'clock this Wednesday, Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern. My boy Ted Johnson, 10-year, 3-time Super Bowl winner with the Patriots, jumping on the show with me. We're going to talk Bill Belichick. And I'll tell you what, and I'll just give you I'll give you a tease. And
I don't want to cut you off. Right? But it's not just Bill Belichick. It's basically every coach that's coached there has not had success anywhere without Tom Brady. Please mention that too. And see if he agrees.
No, that I believe. Yeah, no, I'm with you 110% on that. Hold on one second. This is what our boy Teddy J said. Bill Belichick is donezo, left the place in shambles. So, I mean, look.
I think Tom Brady left the place in shambles. That's what I think.
Okay.
Oh. One more thing. This came out. Kraft said Belichick told him Brady was done. And then I watched him go win a Super Bowl. So now it's a valuation as well.
I did see that. No. What's that?
Kraft said Belichick told him Brady was done.
And I saw that too.
Look, maybe I said something and it's going to get clicks when I said Belichick's a bad coach. Okay. Maybe I said that for clicks. Interesting. But 80-99 is 99, and that doesn't get a job anywhere in the NFL. Won't play one.
No, you're right. It doesn't. It does. Well, unless you're Raheem Morris.
Let's see, man. He learned. Let's see what he does. You know what I'm interested in? I want to see the guy I want to see have a winning year, because if Belichick is still out there and this guy doesn't win this year, especially in this godforsaken market, I want to see what Brian Dable does. I want to see, because if this guy don't win this year, the Bill Belichick whispers are going to be all over the place.
By the way, if I told, real quick, just because I'm going to be an asshole. If I told you that there was a 21-38 coach on the market to bring to your franchise, would you grab him?
A 21-38 coach
in 4 seasons. He'd been coaching for 4 years. And he had a 21-38 record.
No, I would not. What is his name?
His name would be Raheem Morris.
You got me.
And I mean, it's low hanging fruit. I was just, and the only reason I say that because I googled his number. I would go.
I mean, they said he knocked the interview out of the park with Atlanta, and I'm sure he did because they chose him over Belichick. So, and sometimes you have to learn, right?
Well,
because
you know what,
Belichick was 36-44 at Cleveland. So sometimes you have to learn how to get through this thing.
No, and look, he had and the thing about Raheem Morris, and I say, and I just used him just to be a smart ass with you, but the thing about that we forget about him is that, his first 3 years, he was like 36 years old when he got the job with Tampa Bay, right? And they weren't good. They had no coach. I mean, again, we go back to the whole thing with no quarterback. So, there was something I was going to say, and I can't.
The 80 and 99 we're talking about as the best coach of all time. I just don't agree with that. I'd argue that point with anyone. He won with Brady. He's a great coach. Why didn't he win without Brady? That's my question. And I honestly can answer that. Answer that.
No, man. The more you think, look, I'll put it like this. I'll say this. I consider myself a diehard Belichick fan. I will say after having this conversation with you, that's probably the best laid out conversation I've heard for why he's not. To the point where I got to sit there and think to myself a little bit like, again, because you're right. At some point, you still have to at least, even with a shitty quarterback. Okay, so you got a shitty quarterback, 8-8, 7-9. 6-10, something along those lines. This fool's winning 4 or 5 games a year. So I'm with you on that. So, all right. Well, look, we got Teddy J coming up on Wednesday, Henry Thomas on Thursday. Stick around for that. And then go to text WIN to 545454, or just go to takingvegas.com. Am I missing anything?
You are not missing anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. And you know what? I'm going to chop some of this up, and we're going to get some of this Bill Belichick debate going on because I think my boy Chris hasn't swayed me. Okay, let's not get carried away. He has not swayed me. But I'll tell you what, he's punched some holes in my argument. And I got to go, like an airtight alibi. I need to go find some holes. I need to go inject some air in it. That's for sure. Chris, always a great time with you, my friend. I'll tell you what, we just made an hour and 37 minutes go by like that. All right. So that must say something about what we're doing. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Again, takingvegas.com. Go to Chief Studios. Give us a follow. You will be glad that you did. So for the one and only Chris Hodge, I'm still that dude, Freddie D, from the east to the west, the north to the south, H-Town to NYC, and all points in between. We'll see you next time. Good night. God bless. Boom.